The Herbert Hur cuckoo quail clock movement that I'm working on, it's functioning just fine. The weights are dropping evenly, but I'm going to continue to allow it to function while I work on something else. And this is what I want to work on. I got these in. I showed a video of me working on one of these earlier, but I got some more of the Hummel music boxes in. And as you can see, this one came apart on me. And the string doesn't want to pull, so I have to take this all apart and figure out what's going on. There are a couple of screws to take this movement out, and I'm sure that the string where it's wrapped up is in a bind. Good little holder for my parts. The face of the music box. Need to make sure I get all the screws out. By the way, the screwdriver that I'm using is one that I use to push and move pivots when I'm putting a clock together. I made this screwdriver. As you can see, the notch here to push and the notch here to move. I worked on one of these before, and I thought this thing unscrewed. There we go. I'm going to it seems to function just right, but I'm going to take this spring off. I thought it would come right out. We'll take it apart. What I like about these music boxes is once you take this governor off, there's only one screw. You take it off, and this notch fits in this hole here. There's all kinds of oil all over this, and you just put it in and it's automatically adjusted. Loosen this screw here. You'll be able to push and get the drum out. Now this spring might be broken. It's not broken. It's working just fine. So, time to put it back on. There's I don't know if you see it, but there's two little tabs, one right here and one on the other side, one right here. They go into the smallest holes of this music box. And that's what I'm trying to do, is line up those two tabs. I'm going to do it with the camera out of my face, so stand by. You also have to make sure that this shaft goes into the top before you can put it on. Anyway, I put the plastic wheel back on, and now it ratchets. So I can wind this thing all up. And pull on it, and it should go back like it did, except for it came unwound. So I'm gonna clean the pivots, the pinions on the music governor here, and give it some fresh oil and put it back together. So stand by. And just on a side note, a lot of people ask, how do you count the pinions that are on these gears? Well, what you can do is make a scratch on the plate next to one of the pinions, and then as you rotate it, count the pinions. until you get to that scratch again. And there are 7 pinions on here. Now here's a music for a cuckoo clock, and if you had to, you could make this thing work. You see it's rotating. So if you had to, you could probably make this work. Even when you buy the governors today, it says some modification may be required. But just for your information, when you order the governors, they give you the pinion count. So you have to count these pinions on this gear right here. And there's a lot more than 7. I tried to count it, but there's pivot wear in this wheel, as you can see right here. And so this one don't want to turn that well. I grabbed the wrong, not a very good one to show you. And by the way, this governor for this music box is metal, and it's made differently from the previous Hummel music box that I showed you. Because it's metal, in order to take these gears out, you have to separate these arms to pull the gear out, which I don't like bending brass. I like the plastic one better, where you can just pull this right out because it had notches in it. So anyway, because of that, I have to take a toothpick and clean it out the hard way. So that's what I'm doing. Now I have to figure out, and I've put this gear on both ways, this plastic gear, is when you pull on the string, the drum is hitting the teeth. I got the comb away from the drum so it doesn't break any more of the teeth, but the drum is hitting the teeth. I think there should be a clutch system in here to prevent the drum from hitting the teeth. And if I wind it up the other way, it comes unscrewed. But I don't know if you saw that or not. So I'm going to do it again. Watch the drum, it's going to go away from the teeth. But it comes unscrewed. And like I said, I tried it both ways. So when I wind it up this way, the drum is hitting the teeth. And that's how you wind it up. So there's some kind of clutch system in this box that is not operating right, because it shouldn't, the drum shouldn't rotate toward the teeth. It should rotate underneath the teeth so it plucks the teeth. Luckily, I have more. So stand by and let me take one apart. Here's another one. And of course, it's not working either. Actually, it is working. So I could take this one apart and figure out the clutch system if I can't figure it out on my own. So stand by. This is a ratcheting system, and it does not want to move. I don't know if somebody super glued it on there or what, but it don't want to move. Here's another one that I have. I got I want to say 4 in plus a clock for a pretty decent price. And I might keep one and give the others away as late Christmas presents. And here's the last one I got in. And they all work except for the very first one that I got out of the box. And so, unfortunately, I'm going to have to take one apart to figure out what to do with the first one that I took out of the box. So I took one apart, and well, you know, it's put in differently. I don't know what kind of pen this is, but I think that's what's stopping it, is that pen right there. So I'm going to see if I can get it out. I got it out. It's just some kind of push pen. And if you watch real closely, you'll see that piece right here turn. See it ratchets to allow the music box to wind up. And with this one, it's not moving. So my next step is to take the rest of this off to figure out why. Now, if you watch when I put a screwdriver and push it, it'll actually move. I don't know if you can see, so let me get some better light on this situation. See, it's moving. Like it's supposed to. So now I have to figure out how to get the other one to move. The thing don't want to come off, that's for sure. So, but I don't know how to get it to move. I was gonna take it all the way off and flatten it out and put it back on. But it don't want to come off. Maybe this might be a future repair for me to finish. You know, I tell people all the time that God's in control and He will provide stuff to you that you might not think it at the time, but you will need later. Or He will provide, he will give stuff to you to help you out. I was at an auction here several months ago. It's when I bought several of my antique clocks. And inside, in part of that auction, there was a bunch of clock parts, and all this stuff was part of those clock parts. And I thought to myself at the time, what the heck do I need all these music box gears for? There was a broken comb in it, and a little band that comes out of the cuckoo clocks. And I think there's a governor fan in here. There's a couple of combs. But anyway, I found a couple of these, but they're too big. They measure about 20 millimeters in diameter, where this one measures about 18 millimeters in diameter. Well, guess what? I found this, which measures 18 millimeters in diameter. It screws onto the rope assembly. The ratcheting system actually works. I don't know what I did with my screwdriver. Here we go. The ratcheting system works, as you could see it moving. So all I have to do is take this out of this container and put the spring on here and put this back in. I need to measure the overall length to make sure that is correct. 23.6. And what do you know? Same size. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this out, put the spring on here, and then put this back in there. So thank you, God, for thinking of me and working on this. You know, God can foresee the future. You know, I don't want to get off on a religious kick here, but, you know, being a Christian, you know, and I have my faults. While I'm on the subject, I will say this. The disciples asked Christ, Master, how many times should we forgive our brother per day? Should we forgive him 7 times per day? And Christ, being in the flesh, knew of our fleshly desires. He told the disciples, no, you should forgive your brother 77 times 7 times per day, because he knew that while we're in the flesh, that we were going to fault. Even as a Christian, you will fault. And for people who are Christians that say they don't fault, you need to walk away from them. They're lying to you. The spring is riveted to the post. So I'm going to have to take my grinder and see if I could grind that rivet away using my Dremel. I have other springs, but there's no sense. In using another spring when this spring is good, except for I might damage it taking that rivet off. This one that I'm going to put in has got the notch, or whatever you want to call it, that will grab a hold of the spring when you wind it up. I drilled a hole. I broke the spring off. I drilled a hole in the spring, bent it, but I screwed up when I disconnected the loop from this tab, so I have to take the spring out to put that loop, the end of the spring, back on that tab. And if you are not comfortable with doing this, I highly suggest that you wear gloves. So I have to put this back on this tab, and then put the spring back on. So that's what I'm going to do now. I do wear gloves when I think I need to. And in this case, I think I need to. I wish I wouldn't have taken that loop off of that tab, but I got a screwdriver that goes through the hole of this spring and comes out the other hole of this housing. And by the way, in that same auction, I got a bunch of keys, a couple of springs, not this, not that. My buddy gave me those. And I got a couple of movements. This one works really well. If I wind it up the right way. But it used to work. And then I got a Lux movement around here somewhere that's very similar to this. But anyway, these keys fit these arbors. And I tried winding it up and putting the spring in the housing with the key, but it's not going to work. I'm going to have to use my gloved hands. So I'll be back. I end up using the key with a gloved hand, wound it up, and was able to get it in there. So now take this key off. And putting this all back into where it belongs. Just like there. Putting the 2 screws in. There's one. Here's the other one. And by the way, I took maybe one class of music in school many years ago. I graduated high school in '83, so I took maybe one semester of music class like we all do, and had to learn how to play the flute. But I think it would be really cool to learn which note each of these tines are on this comb, because this is the drum that goes to this music box. But as you can see, I have several drums that would work in a music box, or at least a few. And it would be cool to know which note each of these tines on a comb are. Here you can see the dampers on this comb. Now this is to soften the note, I believe. That's why it's called a damper. But I think it would be cool to know which note each one of those tines represent. Is it every good boy does fine? Starting from here, every good boy does fine. But I think it would be cool to know which of these notes represent. And I also think it would be cool if I knew which of these notes represent, is to make my own drum for a song. Just my thoughts. It's time to put this drum back in. with this particular drum, it has a single hole here with the music box that I worked on the other day. Let me see if I can find one in here. It had a larger hole than what this is. So anyway, when you put this together, you have to make sure that this is lined up properly, or it won't work. So now I need to wind this back onto it and see if it's going to ratchet the right way. My cord is getting all tangled up. I think I have to push the comb in. I think when I do that, that the little friction from the comb causes the ratcheting system to kick in. Which does. You see that? Now I just have to adjust everything else. So stand by. The centerpiece is slipping in that spring. So I have to squeeze the spring a little bit tighter to where I drill the hole, because this shaft, that piece, let me grab one. This piece that I told you grabs the spring is slipping off that spring. So I have to squeeze the very center of the spring tighter to make this catch it more. So I have to basically take all this back apart and do that. So stand by. This I have to make this space a smaller diameter. And you do that by shoving some pliers down in there and squeezing on the spring. And you want to do it in a couple of different directions. If you can. See, now that diameter is smaller, so the shaft should catch it. And if you made it too small, you might have to open it back up in order to get the shaft into it. Which I think I did. So now when I pull on this shaft, it's pulling the spring out. So that tells me that I did a good job. Pat myself on the back. So now to put it all back together. And you see me put this together once, so we'll come back after we got it all put together. The problem is the diameter of this new shaft is, we'll say 3.3. The diameter of the old shaft is 4.3. And so the new shaft is slipping in this hole, where the old shaft fit tightly in that hole. The new shaft is slipping in that hole, which is causing it winds upright, except for as the spring unwinds, this slips in that hole and it'll play right for a little bit and then it'll go brrr, because this is too small for this hole. So now I have to come up with something to make this diameter as big as this diameter. Okay, what I found was one of these things that locks this music box, the drum roll, into this arbor. And so I drilled it out, pressed it on here, and because I don't have a lathe, a metal lathe, what I'm going to do is drill out the hole in the music base, the same diameter as that shaft, and that way there won't be no play in this music box as it rolls around. And sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And so what I have here, I've got 4 screws around this base so I could drill this hole. And that should allow me to drill that hole, which it did. So now I could take the screws out of this block, and I use this piece of block all the time. I've used it on several different occasions. Using this piece of block, I've got several holes in it for different applications. So anyway, this hole is not as quite as big as the hole that I want, and I don't have a reamer that big, so now I have to decide what to do. And my next size drill bit is too big for this. I measured it once. It's late and I can't remember anything. I've been up for a while. Drinking my energy drinks keep me up. This is 5.8 millimeters. The drill bit, I want to say, was 5.5 millimeters. Yeah, 5.5, 5.4 millimeters. So I need to take a little bit of shavings off of this. So what I'm going to do is put it back into the drill bit, into the drill, and take a little bit of shavings off. And hopefully, by me doing that, I can put this on and it won't be wobbly. We're almost there. I need to take some more off. Go from the other side also. It might still be a smudge wobbly, but it won't be as wobbly as what it was. Sorry, I'm trying to put this on and y'all can't see a darn thing what I'm doing. It's not quite there. So I'm going to take a little bit more off. This should do it. No, it don't. And I'm going to take more off. I might get out my bigger drill bit because I have to compensate for this thing spinning around. And if it's too tight, this thing ain't going to spin around when I wind it up. So I'm making a mistake right here and I'm correcting myself. I'm so used to putting bushings in and having the mind concept of I don't want the bushing to fall out. But here we go. Now there's no play in this thing when I go to wind it up. So let me put all this back together. And I just want to point out that if it slips now, it's because the gears on the end of this barrel are slightly damaged on one end. You should be able to see it. It's a little bit shinier on this section. So I might end up having to replace the drum. I might have the teeth too close still. This is the first time that this music box is played in a while. And it might still slip. And if so, I think I'm going to change the drum out. But I just wanted to show you one last thing. And then this video is going to be processed and uploaded. Now this is the original winding key, winding arbor, I guess you would call it. Remember I was trying to take this thing off? Here's one. Brand new one. Kind of dirty. That was in my parts bin. So I know the stupid thing comes off. It's just that this one don't want to come off. So this is the ratcheting system for these Hummel music boxes. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I never give up, or I try not to give up. And like I said, I was at an auction a while back and I bought a few clocks and a few boxes of clock parts and all those musical box parts was in some of these boxes. And I say that it's not me, it's the man upstairs that is putting things in my direction as he foreseen the future that I would be buying all these Hummel music boxes. Not for myself. I was hoping to get them before Christmas, but I didn't. So they're going to be late Christmas presents. Anyway, leave me some comments and God bless.